The father of Tejano legend Selena will not have a funeral service. That is according to the family. Selena's dad, Abraham Quintanilla Jr., was 86 and died on December 13th.
Before he died, Abraham Quintanilla finally broke his silence in a way no one expected. For years, his daughter had been at the center of fame, controversy, and unanswered questions, both before and after her death. But this time, Selena was not the focus of what shocked the world.
A.B. Quintanilla III, Abraham's son and Selena's brother, took to social media saying that his dad died in his sleep, that he hopes and prays that he didn't suffer. An exact cause of death is still pending. A.B. added his father's wishes were to be cremated and that there will not be a funeral.
Before he died, Abraham Quintanilla made a final decision that spoke louder than any interview. Without saying a word publicly, his quiet actions left people stunned and searching for meaning, forcing many to look at his life and his final moments in a completely different way. So, join us in this video as we reveal his final words. No funeral, no farewell. Abraham Quintanilla's final wish that stunned everyone. When news broke that Abraham Quintanilla Jr., Selena's father, had passed away at 86 in Corpus Christi, many assumed the family would hold a public farewell. After all, Abraham wasn't just a private man. He was a towering figure in Latin music, the architect behind Selena's rise, and someone the world felt it knew. But what came next left fans truly shocked. A.B. Quintanilla, Selena's older brother, took to social media with a message few were prepared to hear. There would be no funeral, no public service, no final gathering for fans. This wasn't a last-minute decision or family disagreement. It was Abraham's dying wish. He had clearly told his son and his family that he did not want a funeral held for him. A.B. explained that he felt the public deserved honesty, especially because the Quintanillas have lived their lives in the spotlight for decades. He said the video wasn't just about announcing his father's passing, but also about stopping rumors before they spiraled out of control. According to A.B., misinformation had already begun spreading, especially claims that his father's decisions were driven by money. Visibly emotional, A.B. defended Abraham with raw honesty. He pushed back against the long-standing narrative that his father was money-hungry, saying that simply wasn't who he was. Abraham, he said, made sacrifices to give his family opportunities and security. Everything he did was for them, not greed, not control, but love. And A.B. made it clear that he was grateful for that, even now. At the time of the announcement, the exact cause of Abraham Quintanilla's death had not been confirmed, though foul play was not suspected. A.B. promised to keep the public updated as more information became available. Still, it was Abraham's final request, no funeral, no public goodbye, that lingered most heavily, a quiet ending for a man whose life had been anything but. But who was Abraham Quintanilla, and how did he build his career up until before his demise? Keep watching to find out. From segregated streets to center stage, the making of Abraham Quintanilla. Long before the world knew him as Selena's father, Abraham Isaac Quintanilla Jr. was just a boy growing up in Corpus Christi, Texas, trying to find his place in a divided world. Born on February 20th, 1939, to Abraham Quintanilla Sr., an auto body repairer and home painter, and Maria Calderon, Abraham was the first of 7 children. At home, Spanish filled the air. At school, it was English. From an early age, he learned how to move between 2 cultures, Mexican-American at home and white American in public, a balancing act that shaped him for life. Abraham grew up Catholic in a time when Mexican-Americans were often treated as second-class citizens. His childhood came during a turning point in history, right after World War II, when Mexican-American veterans returned home unwilling to accept the discrimination they had once been forced to tolerate. Slowly but surely, things began to change. Mexican-Americans started winning school board seats and local offices, and Abraham grew up watching his community push back against the limits placed on them. In 1953, his family made another major shift, leaving the Catholic Church to become Jehovah's Witnesses, joining a growing movement of Latin Americans turning toward Protestant faiths. Music entered Abraham's life when he was just 14 years old. What started as curiosity quickly turned into passion. He formed a small singing group called the Gumdrops, with classmates from his high school choir. But everything changed in 1957 when he attended a Y dance and heard a trio called the Dinos performing English-language songs. The sound, the attention, the energy, it hooked him instantly. When one member planned to leave the group, Abraham didn't hesitate. He approached the remaining members, Bobby Lira and Seferino Perales, and soon became the third Dino. They practiced after school, played at parties, and performed wherever they could. At first, they didn't get paid at all until someone slipped them a tip at a graduation party. That moment sparked a turning point. Abraham suggested they start charging for performances, a risky idea that initially worried the others. But once audiences proved willing to pay, the group's confidence grew, and so did their ambition. In 1957, at just 18 years old, Abraham made a bold decision. He dropped out of high school to chase music full-time. Despite his mother Mary's strong disapproval, the Dinos expanded their lineup and refined their sound, first performing traditional pop, inspired by groups like the Four Aces and the Mills Brothers, before embracing the rising doo-wop trend. According to biographer Joe Nick Potosky, the stage gave Abraham something he had never felt before: attention, importance, and self-worth, a rush stronger than anything else he had ever known. Their big break came when they recorded So Hard to Tell at a Corpus Christi studio. The song gained heavy radio play, and soon they were performing across South Texas. But success came with harsh realities. On tour, the Dinos faced open racism. They were denied hotels, forced to ride in the back of buses, and in one humiliating moment, paid not to perform after a club owner realized they were Mexican kids. Still, Abraham pushed forward, demanding fair pay and refusing to shrink himself, even when later singles failed to match earlier success. In 1961, Abraham was drafted into the U.S. Army. Though he once saw the military as a chance to travel, he spent much of his service stationed at Fort Lewis. It was there that he met Marcela Zamora. They married in 1963, and shortly after his discharge, their son, A.B. Quintanilla, was born. Reality hit hard. Abraham worked as a fry cook at Denny's, struggling to support his growing family, before returning to Corpus Christi in hopes of reviving his music career. But the world had changed. When the Dinos performed again, Mexican audiences rejected their English-language sound. They were booed off stage, refunded crowds, and escorted out by deputies. That humiliation forced a crucial reinvention. Encouraged by Johnny Herrera, the band transitioned into Spanish-language music and became Los Dinos. The shift worked. Their song, Con Esta Copa, found success across Spanish radio stations nationwide, and Abraham later admitted that moment defined everything that followed. Los Dinos released multiple albums, gained wider exposure, and adapted their sound to appeal to Mexican-American audiences. Abraham handled bookings, led the group, and watched as his family grew. Suzette Quintanilla was born in 1967, but by the end of the decade, crowds thinned, ticket sales dropped, and Abraham faced another hard choice. In 1969, he walked away from the band to focus on providing for his family. It was the end of one chapter, but unknowingly, the foundation of something far greater had already been laid. Although one chapter closed for Abraham, what brought him back to the limelight? Let's find out. A dream reborn in a garage. How Abraham built Selena's future from nothing. By the early 1970s, Abraham Quintanilla appeared to have left his musical dreams behind. He moved his growing family to Lake Jackson, Texas, and took a steady job at the Dow Chemical Company, working as a shipping clerk and tow motor operator. Life looked stable, predictable, and far removed from the stage. Then, on April 16, 1971, everything changed. Marcela gave birth to their youngest child, Selena Quintanilla. Abraham promised his family that music was in his past. Yet, quietly, it never left him. In his spare moments, he still sang, still felt that pull. When he began teaching his son, A.B., how to play the bass guitar, little Selena hovered nearby, craving attention. She started singing along, almost playfully at first. But Abraham heard something different, something real. Later, he would say that in that moment, he saw the continuation of my dreams. That realization set everything in motion. Abraham transformed the family's garage, carpeting and soundproofing it, into a makeshift rehearsal space. Music once again filled their home, this time with his children at the center. He formed a band with AB on bass and Selena as lead vocalist. A cousin from Arizona initially played drums, but when he had to return home, the role fell to Suzette. She hated it. She resisted, argued, and openly disliked being a drummer for years. Still, Abraham pushed forward. At first, rehearsals were tense. The children often fought against performing, and even Abraham's own brothers warned him to ease up. But slowly, something shifted. The music became familiar. The fear faded. Over time, the kids began to enjoy playing together. Their first public performance wasn't glamorous. It was at a PTA meeting at Selena's elementary school, but it was the beginning of something much bigger. Abraham exposed his children to many different sounds, urging them to stay open-minded. He introduced them to gospel music like the Imperials, while Selena grew to love African-American music and soft rock bands such as Air Supply. He wasn't just building performers, he was shaping musicians. In the summer of 1980, Abraham partnered with Jim Cerda to open a Mexican restaurant called Papagayos. Inside, he built a small stage so Selena y Los Dinos could perform while customers ate. But the recession of 1981 hit hard. The restaurant closed, and by November, the family was forced to sell their home to avoid bankruptcy. With few options left, Abraham moved everyone back to Corpus Christi. There was no safety net. Selena y Los Dinos performed wherever they could, on street corners, weddings, at parties, anything that brought in money. It was survival through music. In 1984, the band signed with Freddie Records and released their first album, Selena y Los Dinos. But obstacles followed. Selena was criticized for being a young woman in a male-dominated genre. Refusing to accept limitations, Abraham moved his children to Cara Records, releasing The New Girl in Town. That album earned them a major break, an appearance on The Johnny Canales Show. By the late 1980s, Selena's rise was undeniable. She released multiple albums on Manny Guerra's independent labels, dominating the Tejano Music Awards starting in 1986. One performance caught the attention of Jose Bihar, former head of Sony Music Latin. He signed Selena to Capitol/EMI, believing he had found the next Gloria Estefan. In 1993, Selena won a Grammy for Selena Live, making history. That same year, Abraham opened Q Productions, a recording studio and talent management company, with Suzette handling marketing. Then came Amor Prohibido in 1994, a cultural earthquake. It became the biggest-selling Latin album of all time, earning 20 times platinum status and selling millions worldwide. Selena's dream of crossing over into English-language music was finally within reach, and it all began in a quiet garage, with a father who never truly let go of his dream. What was Selena like? What image did she portray for the public to get their approval? Stay tuned to find out. Selena's image: sweet, sexy, and family-friendly. Abraham Quintanilla Jr. worked tirelessly to maintain Selena's image as clean, wholesome, and family-oriented. In 1989, when beer companies approached her for sponsorship deals, her father refused the offers, protecting her reputation and ensuring her public persona stayed suitable for fans of all ages. Selena faced other challenges as well. As a female singer in a male-dominated Tejano music scene, she was often denied gigs at venues that favored male performers. Yet, her popularity grew steadily. Manuel Peña observed that, after 1989, following the release of her debut album, Selena became a femme fatale, drawing attention not just for her talent, but also for her beauty and youthful impact on Tejano music. Charles Tatum added that much of the attention she received stemmed from her beauty, sexuality, and youthful presence within the industry. Despite the growing focus on her appeal, Selena remained grounded in her values. She refused to record explicit songs, conscious of her upbringing, and aware that her fan base included many young children who saw her as a role model. Even during her attempts to cross over into English-language music, she promised to avoid foul language and sexual themes, asserting that she would stay the same. Maria Celeste Araras, in her 1997 book on Selena's life and death, described her as a sweet and charismatic girl who trusted everyone and often shopped alone. even though her father worried about her safety. Selena's clothing and stage presence reflected a balance of femme fatale and elegance. Betty Cortina of People magazine noted that Selena's provocative outfits were acceptable emulations of artists like Janet Jackson and Madonna, designed to accentuate her Latina figure rather than appear vulgar. Cortina described Selena as having a flamboyant style, an unbelievable body, curves, and booty. Araras also highlighted Selena's fashion choices, stating that she wore clothes to emphasize her curvaceous figure but never came across as cheap, simply sexy. Her makeup was tasteful and never vulgar, enhancing her natural beauty. On stage and off, Selena's personality shone just as brightly as her looks. Araras noted her fun-loving stage manner, her playful nature, and her ability to connect with fans while maintaining her dignity. She was both alluring and approachable, a performer who could balance sexuality, charisma, and the family-friendly image that her father worked so hard to protect. Selena's image was more than just appearances. It was a reflection of her values, charm, and thoughtful approach to her career, a combination that helped cement her legacy as a cultural icon. But what led Selena to her death? Keep watching to find out. Betrayal and tragedy: how Selena's trust led to her untimely death. In early 1994, the Quintanilla family placed Yolanda Saldivar in charge of Selena's boutiques, trusting her to manage the growing business. 8 months later, Selena officially appointed Saldivar as her registered agent in San Antonio, Texas. Soon after, Saldivar moved to Corpus Christi to be closer to Selena. Initially, everything seemed fine, but cracks began to appear. By December 1994, both boutiques were struggling. Staff members quietly complained that Saldivar dismissed employees she disliked, creating tension and instability. Selena, however, believed in her friend and dismissed these concerns, confident that Saldivar would not allow erratic behavior to jeopardize her fashion venture. It wasn't long before reports of Saldivar's troubling behavior reached Abraham Quintanilla Jr. Staff began coming to him directly, warning him about Saldivar's actions. He took the concerns seriously, cautioning Selena to be careful and warning that Saldivar might not be a good influence. Selena, loyal and trusting, brushed off her father's warnings, remembering past instances when he had distrusted people unnecessarily. By January 1995, concerns had escalated. Her fashion designer, Martin Gomez, cousin Deborah Ramirez, and even clients reported problems with Saldivar's management and behavior. Reporters from the Dallas Morning News noted that Saldivar's devotion to Selena had become borderline obsessive. The turning point came when Abraham started receiving calls from fans. They claimed to have paid for fan club memberships but never received anything in return. Alarmed, he launched an investigation, uncovering a shocking truth. Saldivar had embezzled over $30,000 from both the fan club and the boutiques using forged checks. On the night of March 9, 1995, Abraham confronted Saldivar at Q Productions, presenting the evidence of the missing funds. He gave her a stark choice: prove the allegations false or face police involvement. Saldivar failed to provide evidence, and Abraham barred her from contacting Selena. Yet Selena, trusting and loyal, did not want to sever ties, believing Saldivar's cooperation was essential for the success of the clothing line in Mexico and for completing necessary financial documents for taxes. In the days leading up to Selena's death, Saldivar delayed returning crucial financial records, claiming she had been physically and sexually assaulted in Mexico. On March 31st, she and Selena appeared at a medical clinic in Corpus Christi for a brief examination. The clinic staff advised Saldivar to complete a formal sexual assault exam in San Antonio, but this step was never taken. Later that day, Selena met Saldivar in her motel room at the Days Inn in Corpus Christi, demanding the bank statements and financial records. Tragedy struck at 11:48 a.m. Saldivar pulled a gun from her purse and shot Selena once in the right shoulder. The bullet severed the subclavian artery, causing massive blood loss. Critically wounded, Selena ran toward the lobby, leaving behind a trail of blood nearly 400 feet long. Despite her injuries, she managed to name Saldivar as her attacker and give the room number to the authorities before collapsing. Saldivar attempted to flee in her truck, but surrendered after a 9.5-hour standoff with police and the FBI. Hundreds of fans gathered outside, many weeping as she was taken away. Selena was rushed to Corpus Christi Memorial Hospital at noon. Doctors fought desperately to save her, performing blood transfusions and attempting to restart her heart. Despite heroic efforts, her condition remained dire. 50 minutes after arriving at 1:05 p.m., Selena Quintanilla was pronounced dead from blood loss and cardiac arrest at just 23 years old. The autopsy confirmed the devastating injuries. The bullet entered her upper right back, pierced the chest cavity, severed the right subclavian artery, and exited her right upper chest. Her death was officially listed as exsanguinating internal and external hemorrhage due to a perforating gunshot wound. Internal examinations found no substances in her system, nor was she pregnant, disproving rumors that had spread after her passing. What began as a betrayal of trust ended in heartbreak, forever altering the lives of the Quintanilla family and countless fans around the world. Following her death, how did her fans mourn her? Let's find out. A city mourns, the outpouring of love at Selena's funeral. The day after Selena's tragic death, the city of Corpus Christi became a sea of grief. On April 1st, Bayfront Plaza hosted a vigil that drew 3,000 fans, all coming together to honor the young singer who had touched so many lives. During the event, it was announced that a public viewing of Selena's casket would be held at the Bayfront Auditorium the following day. The response was overwhelming. Fans lined up for nearly 1 mile, waiting patiently to pay their respects. As the hour approached to open the doors, a rumor spread that the casket was empty. To prevent panic and reassure fans, the Quintanilla family decided on an open casket viewing, allowing the community to say their final goodbyes. Over the course of the day, 30,000 to 40,000 people filed past Selena's casket. A book of condolence recorded the names and messages of more than 78,000 mourners, while flowers for the ceremony were imported from the Netherlands. At the family's request, video and flash photography were banned, preserving the solemnity of the moment. 2 days later, on April 3, 1995, Selena was laid to rest at Seaside Memorial Park in Corpus Christi. Around 600 guests, mostly family members, attended the burial. The event was broadcast live on Corpus Christi and San Antonio radio stations, a decision made without the family's consent, allowing fans who could not attend in person to share in the mourning. A Jehovah's Witness minister from Lake Jackson delivered the eulogy in English, quoting Paul the Apostle from 1 Corinthians 15, reflecting Selena's family's faith and beliefs. Outside the cemetery, hundreds of vehicles circled the area as fans paid tribute in any way they could. The funeral drew numerous celebrities from the Tejano music scene, including Roberto Pulido, Bobby Pulido, David Lee Garza, Navira, Laura Canales, Elsa Garcia, La Mafia, Ram Herrera, Imogen Latina, and Pete Astudillo, all present to honor Selena's legacy. On the same day, a special mass in Los Angeles at the Sports Arena drew another 4,000 attendees, giving fans across the country a chance to grieve together. Remarkably, Selena's funeral coincided with a workplace shooting in Corpus Christi, which claimed the lives of 5 people, excluding the perpetrator. Despite the severity of that tragedy, it received little attention in the media, overshadowed entirely by the overwhelming public and media focus on Selena's funeral. The events underscored the magnitude of her impact. Her life and death had touched hearts far beyond her hometown, leaving a community and a world united in sorrow. But what legacy did Selena leave behind? Stay tuned to find out. A legacy that shook the world. Selena's death and its enduring impact. Selena's assassination sent shockwaves far beyond Corpus Christi. Reactions to her death were compared to those following the deaths of John Lennon, Elvis Presley, and even President John F. Kennedy. Major television networks interrupted regular programming to deliver the news, with Tom Brokaw referring to Selena as the Mexican Madonna. Her passing dominated headlines, appearing on the front page of the New York Times for 2 consecutive days. Vigils and memorials sprang up across the country, while radio stations in Texas played her music, non-stop. Selena's funeral alone drew 60,000 mourners, many traveling from outside the United States to pay their respects. The news struck the Hispanic community especially hard. Fans drove thousands of miles to visit Selena's home, boutiques, and even the crime scene. By mid-afternoon, traffic around the family's properties became so congested that police had to establish detours to manage the crowds. Condolences poured in from celebrities, including Gloria Estefan, Celia Cruz, Julio Iglesias, and Madonna, while other artists such as Stefani Montiel, Jaime de Anda, and Shelley Laris appeared on radio programs to share their grief and memories of Selena. Not all reactions were respectful. Shockingly, Howard Stern mocked Selena's assassination and funeral on air, making disparaging comments about her music and ridiculing her fans. His sound effects man even added gunshots to her songs during the broadcast. Stern's comments outraged the Hispanic community in Texas, leading a South Texas judge to issue a disorderly conduct arrest warrant, though free speech advocates immediately argued that the action violated the First Amendment. Stern later apologized on air, speaking in Spanish, but many found his apology unacceptable. In response, the League of United Latin American Citizens organized a boycott of his show, and Texas retailers pulled products related to Stern. Even companies like Sears and McDonald's publicly distanced themselves from the controversy, as some fans had mistakenly believed they sponsored his show. On NBC's The Tonight Show, the incident became a heated topic, with singer Linda Ronstadt defending Selena against Stern, sparking arguments on national television. Amid the grief and controversy, the state of Texas recognized Selena's cultural impact. Justice came months later. In October 1995, a Houston jury convicted Yolanda Saldivar of first-degree assassination, sentencing her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years in 2025. On March 27, 2025, Saldivar's parole appeal was denied, and she will next be eligible in March 2030. Life with the possibility of parole was the maximum sentence allowed in Texas at the time. In 2002, under a judge's order, the gun used to unalive Selena was destroyed, its pieces thrown into Corpus Christi Bay. Many fans and historians disagreed with the decision, arguing that the weapon was a historical artifact that belonged in a museum, a tangible reminder of a tragedy that had touched millions. Selena's death was more than the loss of a singer. It was the loss of a cultural icon whose influence crossed borders, generations, and communities. The world mourned, remembered, and celebrated her, ensuring that her voice, her music, and her legacy would never be forgotten. But the man behind Selena's fame was no other than her father, Abraham Quintanilla. What impact did he have on her life? Let's find out. The man behind the music, Abraham Quintanilla's controversial role. Abraham Quintanilla's influence on Selena's life and career has often been described as both pivotal and polarizing. His music teacher recalled him as controlling, citing instances where his religious beliefs directly influenced Selena's experiences. For example, he reportedly refused to allow Selena to perform Christmas carols and even prohibited her classmates from singing Happy Birthday to her. Despite this, the children went ahead with the celebration, highlighting the tension between Abraham's strict guidance and the natural impulses of those around Selena. Former band member Mike Chavez described Abraham as an intensely driven stage father whose persistence carried the group through numerous setbacks and refusals. Many music promoters dismissed Selena as untalented and considered her children's band just another group, but Abraham refused to be discouraged. He maintained strict oversight of Selena's career, emphasizing discipline, propriety, and professionalism. While some saw him as abrasive, difficult to work with, and prone to sudden outbursts, Chavez insisted that Abraham's approach ultimately safeguarded Selena's public image and career trajectory. Abraham's protective nature extended beyond professional matters. In his 2012 memoir To Selena, With Love, Chris Perez recalled Abraham's alarm upon learning that he and Selena had been holding hands. Abraham confronted Perez directly, warning him not to disclose the conversation to Selena. Later, in an interview with Texas Monthly, Abraham explained that he viewed Perez as a potential threat, worried that marriage might lead Selena to leave the band and undo years of careful planning and investment. Despite Abraham's objections, Selena and Perez eloped in 1992 without his consent. Abraham eventually accepted Perez as a member of the family, recognizing that personal lives and familial bonds could coexist. After Selena's death, Abraham's role expanded to encompass executorship over her estate. On July 10, 1995, the Quintanilla family and Perez signed a settlement agreement granting him control of Selena's likeness, business interests, properties, and other assets. Abraham asserted that his children and Perez lacked his industry experience, claiming that without his leadership, the business would collapse. These remarks, however, drew criticism, with the public and media portraying him as overly controlling in both professional and personal spheres. Suzette later refuted claims that she was dominated by her father, clarifying that she maintained independence, living in her own household and managing her own life. The perception of Abraham as a headstrong and controlling figure has persisted among some fans and commentators. The New York Times noted that while many appreciated his role in Selena's success, others accused him of manipulation. Posthumous releases of Selena's music sparked further criticism, with allegations that Abraham sought to profit from his daughter's legacy. In response, Abraham defended his decisions in interviews, emphasizing that fulfilling existing contractual obligations was necessary. Through praise and criticism, Abraham Quintanilla remains a central figure in Selena's story, a father whose vision and control helped shape a global icon, yet whose methods sparked debate and controversy that continue to this day. What are your thoughts about Abraham Quintanilla, the life he lived, and the role he played in his daughter Selena's career? Let us know in the comments section below. Abraham Quintanilla's story shows there's far more behind the headlines than most people realize. If his revelations surprised you or made you see things differently, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click the next video for more shocking stories and untold truths.